Welcome everyone to Mindful Moments. Today we have a guest coming to us from Milan, Italy. Her name is Lavinia Costantino. I hope I said that right. She's a drama teacher and she brings mindfulness into the schools and into one-on-one classes with children through art therapy and all different things she's going to tell us about today. So she's going to share some of her experiences of bringing mindfulness practice to children in the Milan area. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you bring mindfulness into the arts.
Yeah, sure. As you said, Helen, I want to say that my background is actually in the arts. So
Right.
I was trained as an actress since a very early age because I was 7 when I first said I wanted to be an actress. Yeah. So I have to say, I kind of have no memories of my life without a very developed creative attitude because it kind of spans all through my life.
Yes.
So I'm originally an actress, and I work mainly with kids, shows for kids, and with special needs people, so like disabled people, elderly people, and mental health services, which in Italy are somehow together with disability. So I work with special needs, and I'm an art therapist. I was trained as a dance therapist according to Maria Fuchs' approach.
Okay.
She's an Argentinian dance therapist, and she does a great job on bodies. And just recently, I've started a training on the use of storytelling as a therapeutic tool. So that's more verbal, if we want to say.
Yes.
But the last bit, last only in terms of time, that I added to my education was mindfulness for kids.
Yes.
Because I have a personal practice of yoga and meditation that I started in my 20s, so 10 years ago, more or less. And at first I kind of felt it was separated from my job life, so it was like my off-time activity.
Right.
But after a while, I realized how much was from yoga and mindfulness was coming into my job. Right. And I realized that it's not only important how many tools we have, but it's very important how we give them to people. And that made all the difference. And that is when I realized that mindfulness could teach me how to best meet other people's needs and then respond in a creative way. But first of all, mindfulness could really help me to create, I would say, the best conditions for them to be creative. So as you said, now I'm both using mindfulness as a separate methodology in one-to-one sessions or in groups with families as well. So I really believe in working with the whole family when we're talking about children.
Yeah.
But also, I use mindfulness as my own attitude when I give interventions, when I plan interventions. I think that for people dealing with education and creativity, it can give both these possibilities. So it's something you can share with your group, with your children, but it's also something that is kind of, in your mind and helps you create and plan better.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. I think it's a two-way street, isn't it? It's not just about teaching other people, but using it ourselves.
Absolutely.
There's just one thing that you said, because I really agree with this. Is that you mentioned you like to work with the whole family, and I know probably sometimes parents just want their child to have this information, or so can you just talk a little bit about why that's so important for you? And
absolutely, it has to do with what you were saying. So I think at the moment, here and now in Italy, in Milan, I just want to talk about my own experience because of course it's personal, but I think that mindfulness is very different from whichever, from any influence that we can get from our society.
Yes. Okay.
So it's very different at first. Then you get
Yeah.
into it and you feel how natural it is. But at
Yes.
first it's a bit, it's a bit
Right.
strange, looks or feels a bit strange. So I think that if we don't involve the whole family in an experience together, then it gets a bit difficult to just include one child,
Yeah.
because then it's difficult to exchange what they have discovered. It's
Yeah.
difficult to make it an informal practice and a general way of
Right.
lifestyle. So that is why I think that including the whole family is much better. And also because, as you said, sometimes parents have this expectation that they take the kids to art therapy, to drama class, or to mindfulness, and
Yeah.
ding, the child gets changed by magic. But it doesn't
Right.
work like that. So it's not like, taking the car for a problem to fix. So we don't want to fix anything in our children. We just want to give them another option to live life, I don't know,
Yeah.
more happily, with more awareness. So as many people around them are going, the same way, the better,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great explanation, and I think that's so important. That we have to kind of include everyone that's involved with, and in the schools, the same thing. It has to be, the teachers
Yeah,
practicing
exactly.
as well. So tell us a little bit more about how performing arts and
Mhm.
mindfulness are, like, what do they have in common?
Yeah.
What are the similarities? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, I actually think they have so much in common, I have to say. And as I was telling you, I met mindfulness quite late in my life, at least compared to theater, which
Yeah.
actually came in when I was a child. So when I met mindfulness and meditation, I was already, let's say, a creative mind since a long
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So I met it through the eyes of creativity. And I suddenly felt that I could meet in mindfulness something that was already familiar for me.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
not something strange, something
Yeah.
that I could only understand, mentally or in theory, but it was
Right.
something that really resonated with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I started noticing how much in common there was between being on stage and being on the mat.
Right.
I think this is a shared experience that anyone can have, even if you're not a professional artist, but mainly
Yeah.
maybe you just have a creative attitude. So you paint at home, or you
Yeah.
go to you sing in a band.
Yes.
So any kind of creative experience, I think it could tell us how much in common there is with mindfulness. And I'll just give you some very basic
Yeah.
examples because I think they are
Yeah.
something that we all as mindfulness practitioners know. For example, I would talk about the idea of being here and now,
Yes.
which in theory could seem very, very not common for our everyday life. Okay, so we're
Right.
multitasking, doing lots of
Yeah.
things together. We're talking from two different
Yeah.
countries, so we're not really
Yeah.
in the here and now.
Right.
But it's, I think, the only way you can be when you want to make art, because you
Yeah.
cannot be disconnected from what you're doing. You have to be there 100%.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm talking, of course, about the performing arts, which are the ones I know better, so theater and dance. So you're there, you're on stage, and you can only create when you are connected with your audience, with your partners, with the play. But which takes us to a second kind of similarity that I see, which is about self-judgment.
Right. Okay.
Self-judgment, I think it's something that we all need in mindfulness, and I think it
Yeah.
scares us. It scares me a little bit because,
Yeah.
we all have this voice in our head constantly that tells us lots of things. Um, but when you are on stage or you're creating, especially I would say if you're with somebody else, with a partner, because
Yeah.
that really helps, you cannot listen to your own voice. Otherwise, you lose the connection.
Yeah.
So you actually have a very strong experience of what being here and now,
Yeah.
and being in the flow without
Yeah.
constantly self-judging yourself or judging the other person or reality around you. You get a real experience of what that can be
Right.
off the mat,
Yes.
which in a way I would say is a bit, it's pretty strong
Yeah.
to experience. It makes you feel maybe naked, very
Yeah.
exposed. But on
Yes.
the other hand, I think it can really take you one step farther in your practice, because you're there and you're just bumping into the experience, which is something that is maybe a bit more difficult when you are into formal practice. Maybe you kind of,
Yes.
go a bit slower. But I think it's something that you can really experience when you're making art. So I suggest anyone to
Yeah.
take a demo class, but to try something creative and see how similar that can be to mindfulness, and how much you can learn from each
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
and how much you
Yeah.
can get back from the
Right.
arts to mindfulness and vice versa.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
really a
wonderful.
powerful experience.
Yeah, I think it's so true, and I mean this is perfect for kids, right? Because you know, especially younger kids, we're not going to ask them to sit and meditate, and we want to give them those experiences, but to really be
Absolutely.
present and yeah. So and I love how you said being in the flow. I think that's so important when we can that feeling is so great when you're in flow. And
Yeah.
I know I've mentioned to you before, my husband's a chef, and I think that's what like certain professions, they just go in and they're there and present, and um, um, it's really interesting to look at different perspectives, and
Yeah.
like you said, the arts seem to be this ideal way to create that in an interesting environment. So tell us a bit more about mindfulness and children, and how bringing that practice together, especially with younger children, would
Yeah,
work.
well, as I was telling you, what I do is that I can both meet children in one-to-one sessions.
Yes.
I do that especially with children who have special needs. So I'm
Yeah.
talking about children with very difficult situations.
Yeah.
Behavioral difficulties, or learning disorders, or
Yeah.
sprays, or something that happens in the family. So I either meet them, of course, individually, because their
Yeah.
need is so big,
Yeah.
and so they need a very protected environment.
Yeah.
And in that case, my decision is to actually mingle mindfulness and the art therapies a lot, because I
Right.
think, as I said, that they work great together. And for children, which are much less structured and
Yes.
overthinkers than we grown-ups, it's very easy to flow from one to another. So maybe
Right.
we just create a story that conveys some mindful messages, and
Right.
then we can pass to a hard practice, and they
Yes.
feel it very naturally. Or
Yeah.
we can do, of course, vice versa.
Yeah.
So it becomes a very strong experience for them, very coherent,
Yeah.
very something that they can understand both verbally on the cognitive level, and
Yes.
something that they can experience down in their bodies, in their
Right.
hearts.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a kind of integrated approach for them, because at school, again, I'm referring mainly to Italian schools. This is
Yes.
where I work. Everything after a certain age, so after preschool, everything goes through the brain. So
Right.
that, so they at a very young age, they kind of forget they have a body. That
Right.
which maybe shows us why our body awareness, even in teenagers, is so low, because
Yeah.
uh, poor kids are not, helped to
Yeah.
develop a healthy relationship with their bodies. So mindfulness, together with the arts, especially, I think they are performing arts, where your body is your main
Yeah.
instrument. So, you don't have a
Exactly.
paintbrush, you don't have an
Yeah.
instrument, but you have yourself.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting approach, so that the competencies are
Yeah.
involved. So brain, the cognitive side, psychological, emotional,
Yeah.
physical. So it gets very complete. Um, When I do groups, as I told you, particularly this year, I'm really a lot into working with families,
Yes.
which means that, again, I put some art in it because
Yes.
simply because it's my language, so I feel it. I
Right.
really think that every practitioner can work and really make a difference when we are giving something that we feel that is
Yes.
deeply
Yeah.
ours, that it belongs to our experience.
Yeah.
So I just give some, maybe I tell a story or I have them create a story, improvise a story, and then we practice all together. I think that practicing as a group makes a lot of difference. It gives us a lot to, to observe and to take back from
That
the group.
connection. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's easier to feel supported, to feel that you're
Yeah.
not alone in this
Yeah. Yeah.
experience.
It's great.
And then there is another way that I kind of apply mindfulness, even if more informally, which is when I give I would call them regular drama classes, meaning
Yes.
that they are proper drama classes. I'm
Yeah.
not asked to do any mindfulness.
Yes. Yeah.
But as I told you, both in my way to create
Yeah.
classes, to set objectives, and in my way to relating with kids and to have kids relate to each
Yeah.
other, I always try to put some mindfulness in,
Yeah.
which actually makes all the difference because I often wonder which is the difference I can make to the life of these children,
Yeah.
because I often see kids at 5 or 6 in the evening, so they've been to school the whole
Yeah.
day. Then maybe they have been to another class in the
Okay.
the time
Yeah.
in between. Then they come to theater. Then maybe they go home and they have some homework to do. So they're so
Long. Yeah.
squeezed among so many things.
Yeah.
And then I think, why are they here? What can I give them
Yeah.
that is different from what they can take, for example, from sports, from schools, from playgroups, whatever. So something,
Yeah.
I would say, unique.
Yes.
And so mindfulness really helped me to set some clear objectives. For example, of course, being also an art therapist, I've always created classes where inclusion was really
Yeah.
important. The inclusion
Yeah.
of different kids with different
Yeah.
qualities. Sometimes kids with specific diagnosis, maybe. For
Yeah.
example, I have classes with autistic, high functioning autistic kids and neurotypical kids. So
Yes.
where inclusion is a part of creativity, because if we are different, we can give something
Yeah.
more to the
Yeah.
group. Mindfulness really helped me to see difference as a variety of life, as an
Right.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And something else that really was really influenced by my mindfulness practice was the idea of giving kids a non-competitive environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't know what you think or what our audience thinks,
Yeah.
but I feel such a pressure on even on myself, on
Yeah.
competition. Because
Yeah.
maybe because I'm into the artistic field,
Yeah.
but there is a certain time of the year, maybe April or May, when we are all preparing school shows,
Yeah.
and I realize that I'm stressed myself, so I can
Right.
think
Yeah.
for children. So really giving them an opportunity to experience an activity, to sit with themselves, with their resources, with their limits,
Yeah.
with their here and now,
Yeah.
without any pressure on an outcome. I really
Yeah.
think this can make the difference for them, because I don't think there are many activities that can provide this, but mindfulness can. So
Yeah.
I think it really makes all the difference.
Yeah, I love that. I love because it's so true. There's so much competition everywhere in the world now, in schools and at younger and younger ages. And
Yeah,
yeah, just to be is without an outcome, as you say,
exactly.
is a great thing. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing with our audience. So if we have any viewers that are in Milan and they wanted to contact you, we'll put your contact information at
Absolutely.
the
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
post so they can. You never know who's going to
Yeah,
see this.
sure.
But I think all our viewers will find it really inspiring and interesting how you've done this, and and the difference that you're making to kids, which is
thank you. I hope so. Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming on,
Helen,
and hope to see you when I'm in Milan next.
I'll be waiting for you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.